Hi everyone, my name is Margaret. I'm one of the paralegals here at Tsang and Associates. And today I will be sharing a recent I-751 waiver success story. So this is a story about a young couple who met on an app. They pretty much fell quickly in love, and ultimately they just encountered many unforeseen challenges. Honestly, on paper, they looked like exact opposites. Their cultures were entirely different, and you would just never imagine that they would be together. But they did have a lot of things that they shared in common. One of the big things that I remember that they were really passionate about was Harry Potter. So they dated for 2 years and then they got married. Shortly thereafter, she applied for her conditional green card and she got it. And then shortly after was when they divorced. And that was actually one of the more challenging parts about this case. As you can imagine from the officer's perspective, it looks a little suspicious that you would get your green card and then decide to file for divorce. So our job was really to present their entire love story and to give a little bit more context so that it would ultimately make sense. Because again, at a glance, a lot of these things, I feel like a lot of clients are concerned because they have like these unique situations. But I feel like in most people's stories, a lot of it can be explained. You just have to give context. And if you can provide supporting documents, then that's of course even better. So when we build these cases, again, one of the key things is that we present their love story, how they met, what led to their marriage. We talk about a lot of the factors that led to divorce. And we also try to show what they did to salvage their marriage. Because again, a couple that's really in love is more likely to work on their marriage versus just quickly throwing it away. A lot of our clients have done different things. Again, every case looks different, but some of them have done individual counseling, couples therapy. They've tried reaching out to their community, whether that's friends or family, their church. But again, we try to show that there were multiple efforts, even amongst themselves, to try to fix it and really show that ultimately all of these things failed. So with this couple, they had agreed to do couples therapy once his contract with the military had ended. Unfortunately, they never got to actually do the couples therapy, but they had messages talking about it. They also provided text messages of having multiple conversations where our client just demonstrated a lot of emotional support and willingness to work through a lot of the issues. There were issues with alcoholism, there were lies, there was an ex-girlfriend, and our client in particular was willing to just work through these issues and put her best foot forward. And she had text messages to show that. But ultimately, the last straw was when she received a text message from him while intoxicated asking for a divorce. So in this case, they already had so many issues that had been building up even before marriage. But again, they were hopeful, they were optimistic, they were in love. But once he sent that text message, it just showed her that he was really no longer willing to make it work. And she had tried everything at that point, to the point where her own peace, her own health, everything was falling apart. So they really made the decision to part ways at that point. Some of the documents that they provided in their particular case was an affidavit from both the applicant as well as her ex-spouse. Again, we do have a lot of clients asking whether that's necessary, and we always say it's not necessary. I would say that maybe about at least 80% of our cases are mostly just a personal letter from the applicant. If you do have someone that's willing, then it can be helpful, but it's not essential. Another thing they provided are they had the more of the standard documents. So in this case, they had tax returns, they had bank statements, they did have a condo lease with both of their names, they had utility bills. So in addition to showing the commingling of financial documents, which is really what USCIS likes to see, they also had text messages, they had affidavits from other people. For example, if she didn't have a lot of the financial documents, then we would say more affidavits or as many as possible, right? So in this case, we presented 3. So we like those to be coming from friends, neighbors, or coworkers who have knowledge of the relationship, are close to the both of you. And that can say something along the lines of, I've known the couple for a few years. I can speak on the fact that they're in love because I've witnessed multiple encounters. We often have dinner together, for example. And depending on the relationship, for example, if you're providing a letter from a coworker, they might not be able to touch upon that factor. They may only be able to say that they saw you at the company get-togethers. So you want to have these multiple perspectives that, again, will emphasize the bona fide relationship. And we get the question about whether family members can provide affidavits. I would say technically yes, but we prefer to not have family members because it could be seen a little bit biased. And we usually like to include notarized affidavits. Also, you can present, in this case, they gave a lot of text messages throughout different parts of their relationship. They presented a lot of photos together. They had 2 cats together, so they shared a lot of different documents showing that they were both the cat owners. Sometimes they're just fixated on like whatever maybe they see online, like tax returns, a lease or a mortgage, and they just start to get, or they start to feel panic about not having those things. But I think it's normal, like sometimes because of your situation, you might not have X document, but you want to think outside the box as to what can supplement that. I feel strongly that if your marriage is real, you honestly don't have a lot to worry about because you will have some sort of documentation to show that. Again, it might not be the traditional documents, but there should be something to show. So I know it sounds like kind of simple, but just on my end, as I'm hearing all those things, I don't always say them out loud, but I kind of know in my heart that they will be okay because I know we'll be able to come up with something and just share their story. Luckily, this case was approved without interview or RFE. But if there are, let's say your marriage is real, but you have a lot of red flags, you know, just because, like, let's say you've been previously married a lot, you petition other people, you just have different cultures, there's a huge age gap, which doesn't make it false, but it could raise some suspicion from USCIS. In something like that, then you would just need to prepare to fight for your case, maybe a little bit more, but it's not impossible. So I hope you found this video helpful, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.